you've created some intrigue. And what you want is for that person to go, oh, this cool part-time thing that you do then. So they're asking you, they're inviting you to tell them about your business. They don't want to know about your profession. They want to know about this cool part-time thing that you've got going on. And what you're not going to do is fire at them a load of information about Forever Living products and aloe vera and everything else, and literally give them your life history. Again, the structure that he created is that you would let them say, well, you know how. Now, this is where we would tailor it. So we'd have different approaches depending on the situation. So it might be, and I wrote mine down here a while ago. So what did I say? Just bear with me. So I might say, well, you know how some people, or some women, when they go back to work after having a baby, really resent the time that they're not home and that they're handing their kids over to somebody else. So you're adapting it, you're creating that bad news, you're already getting somebody. So if you're talking to a mum that's just returned, bearing in mind you've had a conversation, they might have just gone back to work, you've created this kind of empathy with this person. And again, you can adapt it. So you've gone back to work, which means that when they've returned to work after having that child, they hate leaving them. And they really, really need to work because they need the money, but actually they just can't bear to be away from their child. So again, you've created a little bit of a scenario that they may well be able to relate to. Then you would say, which means that despite the fact that they're working all the hours God sends to try and make ends meet, they're still not seeing their child and they're paying out loads in childcare, which is making them feel like, is it really worth it? Well, I help these people generate some extra cash now so they can buy back the time further down the line and enable themselves to have a choice about whether or not they stay in that situation. Which means that they can at some point leave work if they want to. So I've just thrown that out there, but the structure, which is the important bit here, is where you start with, my profession is, or my day job is, but I've got this really cool part-time business going on. Then shush, allow them to then ask you the question, what is it that you do? And then you start off with, one, well, you know how, then whatever it is you're going to say, which means that, whatever it is you're going to say, which means that, whatever you're going to say, well, I help those people, which means that. And that's it. And that's the structure, and it only needs to be a minute or so long. It doesn't need to be lots and lots of information. If at that point they're showing an interest and again inviting you, then you've got a couple of options. You could say, well, have you got time now? Great, if you've got 20 minutes, I'll walk you through and tell you a little bit more about it. Or you could say, would it be okay to? And then you've controlled the conversation to decide what is going to be the next port of call. So you might be at a networking meeting, you've had this conversation, you've started your tennis, you've then gone into this structure and this scenario. They say, gosh, that sounds really interesting. I'd love to hear more about that. You can say, well, if you want, I've got half an hour after this meeting finishes today. Do you want to grab a quick coffee and I'll explain some more? Or would it be okay to drop over some information? Would it be okay to grab your number and I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can arrange a time to meet? So you're in control. So that just takes that 1 minute business story and just gives you a little bit more structure when you're out and about, because I think that can work anywhere. Wherever it is that you are, it's going to create some intrigue and it's going to give you some structure to move it forward. So the business story is powerful and you've got to master this as well. Now, the sorts of words that are going to be strong or exciting, as you see on the screen, everything that you can see other than could, might, think, hopefully, one day, sponsor, possibly. Why don't we use sponsor? Because people don't know what you're talking about. This is internal language. So make sure that you're speaking as a business person with these strong words, but also you're creating some credibility and you're not talking in jargon that they're just not going to understand. And obviously when we start prospecting, and I mean when we start to have conversations, we need to be prepared, and the tools are all there. We do not need to reinvent the wheel. And the purpose of these profile sheets are that you have thought about the person that you're about to contact before you contact them. So whether or not it's going to be a cold discussion, they're not expecting your call, or actually you've asked to speak with them at a certain time and you've just given yourself a little bit of information to prepare yourself for that call. The other thing that I use is that when I'm talking to the person and I'm asking lots of questions, I'm filling this profile sheet in as we go. And as you can see here, fairly straightforward in terms of occupation, age, location, etc. The hot button for me is the biggest piece. This is what is going to enable you to create that empathy with that person. So if you're talking to a mum, make sure that you've understood what her hot button is. Did you talk about it with her when you met her in the coffee shop? And then you've arranged this call. What was it that she said that actually maybe throughout this tennis conversation that you were having, she wanted to spend more time with her family? So make sure you understand that when you're having that call. Make sure you understand that when you're having that one-to-one. It's not about you, it's about them. Remember, if we're doing our job right, our job is to educate, but it's also to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the other person. If we've got enough plates spinning because we're meeting enough people, we can also sift out the people that aren't right. If during the course of a one-to-one or a conversation, that person gives you an indication that they're just not right to be a member of your team, then you need to be honest about that. Don't waste their time by bringing them in because you're desperate, because that's not fair on them either. So that's the profiling sheet. And then we make the call. And when we make the call, we need to keep it simple. We need that profile sheet in front of us. We need to be prepared for the call. We need to know what our objective is. We need to control it. And that's been so strong through all of Phil's program. And it's always been what I've always maintained. If you were ringing up somebody to arrange an interview, let's say you worked in a traditional business and your boss had said to you, I want you to arrange these interviews. I've got these CVs here, and I'd like you to arrange for them to come in so they know what the next stage is. You're not going to ring up the person and ask the person to tell you when they're available. You're going to ring them and say, I've got your application. I've arranged an interview for you on the 5th of May at 4 p.m. Can you confirm if you can attend? And they'll tell you if they can or they can't. So you've got maybe another option that you might have, but you're in control. And that does not change just because you're in this business. It's no different. You're running a business. Your time is precious. Remember, you've got your perfect hourly rate. So, make sure that you're meeting those needs. It's an invitation. It's not a presentation when we're making a call on the needs of the person. And we need to manage our excitement. We need to be excited, but we don't need to be so excited that we're draining the life out of the person on the end of the phone. Have the story. Remember, facts tell, stories sell. Have your diary because you're going to be controlling the conversation. Leave with the products. Leave with business. Follow up with the products, and just enjoy it. Just get really well practiced making these calls. Too many people shy away from the call, and I promise you, text message and any form of messages are invaluable because it's how most people communicate. But it's also the easiest way to ignore somebody, and it can be misinterpreted. For me, the messages are about creating the call. So the messages are about planting the seed and arranging the contact thereafter. Don't see it as the only form of communicating. You've got to master the art of the call. Again, beware of your weak words. So this is about, don't say when you're ready, call me, because you've lost control of the call. This is the controversial part. It says I've got a little business here, which I do understand, because what you don't want to do is undermine what you've got your hands on. So if, like me, I'm not sure I would be happy using little, I would say I've got this, this part-time cool thing going on. That's fine. I don't talk about selling aloe. I really don't talk about aloe until I'm getting into a one-on-one with somebody and I'm talking about the product range, if I'm honest. Don't talk about price of the starter pack. And Bill again covered this week when he said, don't apologise for the price of something because what you might perceive as being expensive, somebody else won't. Don't even mention it. He said, if you walked into a restaurant and somebody said to you, when you sat down, hi, good evening, can I get you a glass of wine or whatever it is they might be offering you for a drink, and you say yes, then literally they're not going to go, oh, it's £4.50. They're just going to get you a glass of wine, and they're going to put the glass of wine on your table, and then at the end of the night they're going to give you the receipt and you're going to pay for the wine. If it's an issue, you will ask how much the wine is. Don't you be putting it out there in front of people and be apologetic about it. And the same applies to the price of the starter pack. Do not even think about it. You just say that there's a business pack that you can start with, and that's it. They then want to ask you how much it is, then they can. I don't talk about parties, product parties. I call them business launches or demonstration evenings, etc. I just don't get into the detail about the products. You just don't want to do an entire presentation on the phone. And trust me, I did this at the start. Oh, I could tell them everything about the aloe fields. I could tell them all about Rex. I could do the whole thing. And they probably had passed out in boredom at the other end. So I would say avoid that like the plague. You're creating intrigue, and mystery is what is going to make you want to come back for more. So use those strong words: business proposition, dynamic company over 35 years, track record, health, nutrition and lifestyle, the next $1 trillion industry, it's home-based, high income potential business partner, experiencing huge growth, look for them key people, full training and support. And I'm going to come on to the content in a moment. Here we go. So there's the content. But just before I do, again, a bit of structure that was useful. Certainly for me when I started, I had the good fortune to watch a call by Jane, and I've really just taken her structure, if I'm honest, and made it my own. It's really important that you don't copy somebody else, because it has to be you. You have to be authentic when you're talking to people, and you know, it's like if you've got a really good mate and suddenly you call them up and you start using all sorts of weird language, they're going to think you've gone completely bonkers. You have to be true to yourself. But the structure that Phil refers to, which I really liked, is basically when you are having a call with someone about anything. So this doesn't have to be speaking to them about the opportunity. It could be following up with, he's given examples of, you know, an underperforming team member. It could be following up with, it could be personal. It could be, you know, problem with the bank. It could be an existing prospect. It could be a brand new prospect. It could be a cold prospect. It could be someone who's interested in products. It could be anything. The point is that this structure can work in all manner of scenarios. And that structure simply is introduction, which is your framework. It tells them who you are. Then it's fact, which you can then anchor off the conversation from. And then it's question. Remember, we want to stay in control, and I always kick off with questions. That's exactly what I do. I mean, my structure up till hearing this, I guess is probably the same, because if I was calling someone cold, say I spoke to somebody on LinkedIn today and then I arranged a call with them tomorrow, I would kick off by saying, hi, it's Lee. We connected up on LinkedIn, so there's my fact. Is now a good time to call? Or I could say, I'm calling as promised because we arranged the call. And then I would ask a question, and that would normally be, before I get into the detail, do you mind if I ask you some questions about what it is that you're up to currently? So that might be a question. That's generally what I would do with my LinkedIn prospects. I've then taken control of that call. Because they're going to say, no, that's absolutely fine. And then I'm going to ask them some questions about what it is that they're up to. And then during the course of that conversation, we're going to start having a discussion about what it is that I am proposing for them. And you could do that in a couple of ways. You could then go flip back into what I talked about, this, you know, this is my profession that I'm in, but I've also got this really cool part-time business. And then you could start telling them a little bit about what I've just described to you. You know how some people, when they go back to work, perhaps they don't want to be in that situation. They'd rather be at home, paying a lot of childcare. Well, I actually help them to get out of that. So you could reference that, or you could do your 1 minute story. It's entirely up to you. So these are just some examples that are given through this training. So, hi Sam, it's Jane here. Do you have a moment to talk? So she's obviously done the intro. she's asked the question. And then, great, the reason I'm calling is that I've just started a business with the help of a friend, and it's backed by a multi-million pound global company. We're looking for some good people to work with in your area, and I wondered if you knew anyone that might be interested. So some of these are not taking the structure that I've just talked about with Phil, but you can see how you might be able to generate this. So, hi, you've done the intro, you've done the facts, do you have a moment to talk, or perhaps you could add in the extra bit, which is the reason I'm calling is just describing what it is that you're looking for, and that then is going to create some conversation. So if you then take this structure and flip it, this is a third party approach, you're not asking them directly. This is a great way for them to also put themselves forward and invite you to tell them about what it is that you're proposing. Somebody might look at that and go, actually, I might be interested, and you can have a conversation with them as the interested party. So making the call, hot button. Hi, Sam, it's Jane here. How are you? Have you got a moment to talk? Great. Well, you know that you said to me the other week that you are facing redundancy and you're really, really worried about it. Well, I think I might have a potential solution for you. Would you be open to having a look? So that might be how I might approach it if it was redundancy. Making the call, the personality call. Hi, Sam, it's Jane. Have you got a moment to talk? Great. The reason for the call, Sam, is that I've just started a business with the help of a couple of colleagues, and I've got the backup of a multi-million-dollar global company. And they asked me if I knew of anyone who is outgoing, great with people, and really self-motivated. And I instantly thought of you. So we've gone down, you can see this does link a little bit into what Phil was talking about, perhaps in a little bit more detail than he would necessarily suggest, but you're still doing intro, you're doing fact, and you're also doing question. So just you can keep this structure going. And then the usual response after you've had some to-in and fro-in, so you're doing your tennis and you're building up a relationship on the telephone, is they're going to ask you what it is. And you could say it's hard to do it justice over the phone. If I was to send you a 4-minute video, would you watch it? Or as Phil would say, would it be okay to? And then you could send them over the 4-minute video. Now, equally, you can have a conversation about the opportunity. You don't have to completely shy away, but you just need to limit what it is that you're talking about over the telephone. And there is a bit of a structure that I'm going to pop up on the team page that's proposed. But if I'm doing a call with somebody, I'm going to give them my story at that point. I would probably share with them, and again, I tweak it for the audience. So if I'm speaking to somebody who is a mum that's gone back into, say, a career, then obviously I will talk about the impact that it's had and allowed me to be at home. If it's a corporate that's fed up with being in the corporate world, and I'm going to tweak it. I'm not going to talk so much about, the kids. I'm going to empathise with them and their situation. So you've really got to read your audience and know the needs. But it's just about less is more. You don't have to tell them everything. And you're going to get people that are going to have some objections during the course of conversations that you have, one-to-ones that you have with people. And they might say, is it such and so might say, is it Herbalife? Is it pyramid selling? Is it selling? Is it network marketing? Don't allow yourself to get defensive. And it's been really interesting, actually, in the group. And I love how it's been responded to, because I think that some people get really defensive about other network marketing companies. I find it fascinating. And again, if I liken it to, the traditional way of working, we've all got competitors. And our job is not to get defensive about those other businesses. And it's really just about to talk about the benefits of ours. It's not to get into, my dad's bigger than your dad conversation. So don't instantly allow your back to come up. A good question is, as it says at the bottom, that's interesting. Why do you ask that? Because actually, if someone says, oh, is that pyramid selling? You might instantly think, oh gosh, they're saying it's pyramid selling, I'm doing something illegal. How dare they? But actually, they might not understand pyramid selling and think it's a positive. Is it pyramid selling? Actually, I've been looking to do something that involves pyramid selling. don't assume what it is that they're referring to. And again, remember, the power is in the question. And that's the thing that you back at them. If you answer a question with another question, you have taken back control and you're asking them to clarify what it is that they know. So just bear that in mind if somebody does say that to you. Another way to deal with objections is the feel, felt, found. And this does work really well. So if someone says to you, I just haven't got the time, then you could say, and again, it's about being authentic and exactly how you feel, Sarah, because I felt exactly the same way. What I found was that by literally looking at the pockets of time that I had some availability, perhaps I just was watching too much television and I just stopped watching some of the soaps that I was watching, that I could find a couple of hours of an evening to be able to work my business around a really, really demanding job. So it's just feel, felt, found. I think that's one of the feels actually. If your prospect says no, then don't again get defensive. And remember, if you've got enough plates spinning, you don't need to worry about it because you'll need to move on to the next person. But you want to stay in touch with them. So you need to agree with that person that it's okay to do that. So you could say, I'm so pleased everything's going good for you at the moment, but let's keep in touch. You might want to plant the seed to say, I happen to think that you would be great at what it is that I'm looking for right now. So it'd be super if we could stay in touch just in case circumstances change. Is that okay? So if they say yes, then you can agree when you'll be back in touch with them. And then you can say, in the meantime, who do you know that might also be looking for some extra cash right now? And, you know, maybe the 2,000, 4,000 a month isn't the right question to ask. A message that we've been sending out this week, which you might want to jot down is, I appreciate that you can say it may not be for you, but do you happen to know somebody who has a few hours to spare and would like to earn an extra couple of £100 a month? So maybe it isn't about the 2,000 to 4,000. Remember who is it you're talking to. Is that person more likely to be interested in the 200? Then just position it in the right way, because if you're talking to somebody and £200 seems a lot to them, and then you're talking about £2,000, £4,000, actually, they just might not feel that that's going to happen, that that's realistic. So just again, read your audience. But do ask for the referral. And obviously, if they do say no and it's not for them, then think about the products. You know, I appreciate how you feel. I understand that this just isn't for you. But what about the products? I really value your opinion, and it would be really super if I could jot round some samples for you to try. We'd be okay to do that. When would be the best time? So, as it says there, if you don't ask, you absolutely don't get. But it's about being really mindful of the other person. And remember that the fortune is in the follow-up. So if you've said that you're going to follow up, and this is where I've been so guilty in the past, and I know that people have slipped through the net because I haven't followed up quickly enough. Within the time frame you said, remember, under-promise and over-deliver. So within 48 hours and at the time you said you would call. Because the longer you leave it, the more likely they'll lose interest. And again, keep control, know your objective. What is it that you want from that conversation? Is it that you want to send some information, or do you want to meet them for coffee? Do you want to arrange a business presentation or arrange for them to see some products? But you need to control that. So if you have a one-to-one with someone, and again, this is something that I do now myself. So I might, and this was something actually I got from Eric Worre. You can book a one-to-one when people don't necessarily know or know that it is a one-to-one, because a one-to-one can be a chance for you to get together on a one-on-one, or it can be using this, obviously our one-to-one document. You know, don't think if you've arranged a coffee with somebody and you're having a general chat that you're going to just pull out your presentation and start showing them when they haven't got a clue why it is that you've arranged to meet them. That would be where you start your tennis conversation. You start to ask questions, you start to understand how that person's feeling, and if it's appropriate, then you can pull out the document. Or if you've had a conversation with someone and you have told them what it is that you want to speak to them about and that you'd like to meet with them to share some further information, then you reference this product and this tool, and you would do that straight away from the minute that they arrive. and you would treat it a little bit like an interview. And the one-to-one, you can download this document off of the web store. You can get it on QLS. You can also get it off of Further Knowledge. You can download it onto your tablet, or you can also get it printed and laminated and put into like a little tabletop tool. And that document will really allow you to start walking through and sharing the opportunity. But it should be a conversation again, not a presentation. And certainly the start of it for me is really important, finding out what's important to them. And, you know, as it says here, the number one reason that people join a business is because of you. No matter what you might be offering, if they don't like you or don't buy into you, then they won't join. They might go and join somebody else. So really think about how you're coming across. And obviously this is where you can get the document as I've just talked about. Make sure you're prepared if you're having these coffee conversations. Make sure they know how long it's going to take. Avoid the busy, noisy locations. So make sure that it is, you know, appropriate. Never go to a prospect's home because you're not in control. You can have them to yours if you must, because you can obviously keep an element of control. But again, neutral locations can be best. Arrive 10 minutes early. Pick a seat. Dress appropriately for the person that you're meeting, and make that person feel special. So remember, you have the conversation when they arrive, you're breaking the ice, get them to be comfortable, and then you can share your story if you haven't already. But again, it's about them. Make sure you're asking lots of questions. If you are having that meeting, even if they're not exactly aware of it, then make sure you've got information to hand in your bag so that you can reference it should you need to. But obviously if it's a pre-planned one-on-one where you're going to share some information with them, and you don't have to call it one-to-one. You can call it something else. You could call it an interview. You could call it a discovery meeting where we can explore the opportunity and find out a bit more about each other. You call it what you want. You don't have to use internal talk and call it a one-to-one. And these are all the things that you would take along, so you can read that. And then the most important slide that you have in your one-to-one is this one, the time and money. If time and money were no object, what would they be doing? And again, if you can master this is the probing phase where you really get into what's important to somebody. And too many people don't spend enough time on this, and this is really the basis and the foundations for the rest of your conversation. Because remember, if we're doing our job properly, then we are going to match our knowledge about the opportunity with their knowledge about what their life is like right now and what their needs are and what their biggest frustration is that potentially we might be able to help them with. And remember, you're assessing whether this person is right for your team as well. So you want to find out a bit about them. Don't be afraid to ask them, you know, what are your strengths? What are the things that excite you? What frustrate you? Add in a few questions at this stage if you want to, just to make sure that you're getting to know the person. The more questions you ask, the more they'll open up, the better you'll get at doing it. And actually, the more fun you'll have as well, because you'll find out lots about people. And then all you do as you walk them through is, you know, as it says to you, learn these word for word, don't get sidetracked. Read questions and the answers by Alan Pease. What is your number one priority? Why is that important to you? What are the consequences if you weren't able to fulfill that opportunity, and why would it worry you? And it's just getting really good at just extracting information from people. And then during the course of that, you're going to be setting the scene. So once you've found out a bit more about them, you're going to tell them a little bit about what we're all about. But keep it really conversational rather than just talking at them. Make sure that you're facing each other, you know, that you're kind of getting their feedback, because you know what it's like. I sometimes feel like it when I'm doing these webinars, because they're not interactive. You can feel like people are just going to fall asleep if you keep talking at them. Read your audience. If you feel like you might be boring them, ask them a question. Get them involved, because it might be that they're just switching off because you've been talking for too long. Just, you know, get good at this. And also practice on people. Get good, understand the numbers, be credible. Based on superior products, and now we're going to start talking about the products. It's all really straightforward because it's all in here. And while you're talking to them, make sure you're looking at them. You're not looking, you know, just constantly at a slide. And then you're introducing the concept of team marketing. So again, it's about understanding how to explain this. And then it's the money. And this is the bit you've got to get your head around, because this is the bit I think most people shy away from because they don't really understand the slides or don't really understand how best to explain it. And this is the bit that people want to know about. They want to know how they're going to earn their money. So really, really understand it. Watch lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of one-to-ones. Attend one-to-ones if you can with other people. Just get really, really good at mastering all of it, but particularly around the money and the benefits. Explain the benefits that they have and that are available to them. Remember that you can, if they've said at the start that they really want to be able to travel, refer them to, so look, you mentioned earlier on that travel is really important to you. We have the opportunity for you to qualify for 2 trips a year, which incorporates training, but it's also a wonderful opportunity to travel costed by, paid for by the company. And then the close, really. And the close, again, is another area for you to really start to get good at. Because a lot of people get through, they're quite happy showing information, and then they just clam up when it comes to controlling what the next steps are and asking a question that enables you to decide what the next step's going to be. Have you decided during the course of that actually you would like to progress the person, or is there something in there that's telling you this person's just not right? Because that's the time for you to say, I'll be in touch. So you can decide during the course of that meeting, actually, this person's just not for me. I just don't think they've got what it takes. So do what I used to do in an interview, and you can say, so I've got 7 people that I'm meeting with today. I only need 3 people to work with this month. I will be getting back to you by the end of this week. If you don't hear anything from me, then please assume that we're not going to be progressing because we've had such interest in the opportunity, then we're not going to be able to get back to everyone personally, but I'd like to thank you for coming along. If I do decide to progress, then I'll be giving you a call tomorrow by 10 o'clock. So you've kind of allowed them to know what the next call will be. And actually, this was really powerful. John Curtis did this with, oh gosh, I can't remember the lady's name, that's gone from my head, but he said exactly that, and he said that I will call you tomorrow if I decided that I'd like you to be one of the people that I want to work with next month. And he told her a time that she would call, and she was so keen that when he didn't call at that exact moment, she started to panic and get frustrated, but it made her want the opportunity more and more. So remember that's a way that you can keep in control. It's not about them deciding whether or not they want the opportunity. You also need to decide. So, as Tracy just said, take the carrot away. Absolutely right. Because I think sometimes it's all too easy for people. And I think we can talk ourselves out of it as well. So the close, with more information still to come, do you feel like there could be anything in this for you? And then just be quiet. Just be quiet and let them tell you what they're thinking. And don't be tempted to start the presentation. If they say, do you know what? Yeah, I am quite interested. I do have some questions. You say that's fine. Let's have another meeting. I'm quite keen to progress the conversation, or even at that stage, you might say, it's absolutely fine. I've got a number of people that I'm meeting today. If you are happy to progress to the next stage, then I will be in touch once I've seen everyone today to decide who it is that I'm going to be taking through. So you could do that. No, it's absolutely fine because you've taken the carrot away, as Tracy's just said. So the next step, as it says here, yes, if it's a yes, then that's great. The next step is to arrange a business presentation. So you can tell them there and then. If they say they're not sure, you can still say, I can understand that. It's hard to make a judgment on just an overview. The next step in the process is actually to come along and attend a business presentation, which I can book in for you. Is that okay to do that now? And if they say no, you can say that's fine. Can I ask you why? Because I value your feedback. And then listen and respond. Ask for a referral, offer the products, agree to stay in touch. So that really is what we wanted to cover on week 5, coupled with a few bits and pieces as I've shared with you that we've learned in this week. So what you need to do is write and practice your story. Get your business story done, but also think about the structure that I just gave you, so that when you're out and about, you can, and a lot of people have been using this and giving some really, really great feedback. You don't need to create a 1-minute video of your story at this stage. You can video yourself if you want to listen to yourself, but I'm not suggesting that you get that 1-minute video ready to send to people. But what I do want you to do is make 5 calls. And this was a challenge that was set with us, as I say, by Phil this week. And yes, ideally they would be prospecting calls with the structure that I've shared with you this evening. But they could also be calls about other things. It could be, an existing prospect. It could be somebody about a product. It could be a member of your team, whomever. But it's about practicing the structure and being courageous enough to make the call and getting good at it. And it may be that it requires a message first to get a number from somebody, and that's absolutely fine. And then it's book 5 1-to-1s in the diary, because remember, what you want are appointments next week. Appointments next week means that you are doing the activity. If you're a hairdresser, it means that the till is going to be ringing, and that's exactly what you want to be doing. These are high performance activity, income producing activity, call it what you will. You need to work on developing 20 to 30 regular customers and doing the activity that will generate that. Follow up with your existing customers, look to see whether or not there's anything you can help with them, and then start to send messages. So you might want to send that message that I read out to you, go down the referral route and send out a note saying, not sure if it's for you, but do you happen to know of anyone with a few hours to spare who would be keen to earn a few hundred extra pounds a month? And I've sent that out. I've had quite a few people come back. Some of them are like, oh, what is that? I might actually be interested. Some have said, most of them, I've had a few people who haven't replied at all. And then some will come back and ask me, what is it that you're doing? And asking for a bit more clarity on it. But, it's pretty positive because you're asking indirectly. And then someone will invite you. I think I've had about 4 or 5 people that have invited me to then tell them more because they're potentially interested. Which is great because that's exactly what you're looking for. So you've got a couple of ways that you can then start having some conversation and dialogue. Remember, your pipeline is your plate spinning. You want more people, not less people, because then you're desperate. That's not attractive. They're going to run a mile. And remember, you decide. You're in control. And using your points sheet that you have, I've shown you before, will help you identify whether you are doing the right activity. So that's your homework. Really appreciate any feedback again in terms of how you're getting on, how you're finding the training, etc. And if any of you are interested in Phil Jones, then please do let me know. I really recommend it. If you really want to build a business, he is making a huge, huge difference to a lot of people. People who have struggled with their business in the past, suddenly seeing some really good results just from some very, very simple things that he's teaching. So, do shout if you're keen to get onto this revised new program that he's going to be kicking off from June. So I will speak with you all soon. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Apologies that we've run over tonight, and see you very soon. Take care. Bye bye.